Everyone. It's nice to see you all, even though I cannot see you all. It's nice to feel you all. I was just sharing with the other people that my daughter is in the kitchen. She's cleaning the kitchen and she's carrying this Venusian energy. And I think it is so beautiful to watch and feel. You can feel the Venusian energy. There's a reason why this Venus goddess is the goddess of love and harmony, and everything's beautiful. She is really enjoying herself out there in the kitchen, creating beauty out of the mess. And this is what she does now. So as you figured, this is about Venus, and Venus retrograde soon. And Venus is now in the exalted, Venus is exalted in the sign of Pisces, as we call it. And I will just refer to my colleague, Michael Lutin, who wrote something beautiful about that the other day, because Venus is going to make a lot of different aspects the coming weeks. And she's going to go retrograde in the sign of Aries, and she's going to go back into Pisces and start her direct journey again, exactly conjunct Chiron, the wound. And therefore, Lutin, he wrote something extremely beautiful. I thought he sort of took the essence of everything that this journey that Venus is about to take is all about. And it's healing those let's see if I can say these differences that we sometimes experience in the meeting with other people, these paradoxes within ourselves that we also encounter when we bump into relationships that are where the energies are very, very different from those of ours. And also he mentions that, there could also be a possibility to heal these old traumas that love brought upon us. In the name of love, so much pain has been done. We've given pain and we've taken pain. We've hurt and we've been hurt. And it's this never-ending dance of love and pain and the end of love and everything that has to do with this realm where we bump into each other, and this causes some friction, or this causes some karma that we have to carry into the future relationships. And often they are filtering, we're filtering our experiences through these past experiences, and then love is distorted once again. So there's nothing wrong with love. It's the mirror that is shining on that is often reflecting and distorting this energy of love. And we've all been there, I guess. It's part of being human, where you've had that marvelous experience that you just love somebody, and little by little the shadows appears. The projection occurs, the woundings, they just seem to jump up out of nowhere. We say the karmas arises, and it's nothing we can do about it. But in this particular phase that Venus is going through, we can absolutely heal part of it through going through ourselves and through our own experiences with a deeper kind of self-love. Or a deeper kind of respect for ourselves, a deeper kind of authenticity. Remember, Venus will go retrograde in Aries. Aries is the first sign, and Pisces is the last sign. So there is something incredibly symbolically strong about this Venus retrograde. For all of you who are not familiar with this particular retrograde phase, I will show you through my little PowerPoint thing here. Even though we're not there yet, Venus, it won't go retro until the 4th of March. And why would I talk about this before that time? And the reason why I picked this particular theme is that even though, Venus retrograde won't happen for a while, we're still in that energy that Venus will go direct in. Where Venus is now in Pisces, she will go direct in Pisces. She will cross that point where the direct point, I don't have the date in my head, but it won't be that long. And, you know, for the time being, whenever she and in archetypal astrology, whenever something enters into the sign where it will go retrograde, the energy is already starting. You know, you're in that archetype, you're in that sign. So let's see if I can come back to the screen here. I'm sure something happened with my screen. I'm sorry. I had like 358 things open at this. Well, oh, I know. Toot, toot, I figured it out. All right. So even though she's not going retrograde still, I mean, the energy of Pisces is here, and we've all noticed how incredibly strong it's been lately. Mars has been conjuncting Chiron very soon. Venus will also conjunct Chiron in Pisces. We've had several other things going on in Pisces. Neptune is in Pisces, the nodal axis is in Pisces, Pallas Athena is in Pisces. So there's a whole lot of things going on in Pisces, and it's really something that made these last few days rather strange in a Piscean way. Pisces ranges from chaos to ecstasy. You know, it's from the most subconscious, unaware type of energy to the most enlightened, the most ecstatic energy. And Pisces has this wide specter that it, you know, it moves from illusion to truth. And just think about it. There is so much illusion in this world, and illusion is something that often colors our relationships. Who are these people we are with? How many times have you heard people say, I've been with this guy for like 20 years, and now I realize who he is. I mean, so many times. When we are in the realm of Pisces, we're in the realm of ideals, of hopes, of visions, intuitions about how things should be. Like there's some sort of underlying expectation. And this underlying expectation about love is often what distorts our connection to the free love that we often hear about, the unconditional love, which is the higher aspect of Pisces. There is an unconditional love. It is the love that we're being shown when we get in touch with something more spiritual, like the love of God, for instance, or this experience of God inside of you, this connection to something that is really, really deep and real, and it's yours forever. And if anything, Venus is a goddess of love and beauty and harmony. She's the soul of Earth. And she's a higher aspect of our potential as human beings. And, you know, there are many aspects of Venus too, of course. I mean, she has her dark side, but in an undistorted, uncompromised expression, she will operate as that ability to look inward and create harmony on the inner levels. Thus, you know, is love created. Balance and harmony, the middle path, which is Venus' mantra. Through that middle path, we create a condition on the inner levels that is sweet, it is soft, it is loving, it is fertile. And very often when you have these Venusian, you know, from the sign of Taurus, there was somebody who asked about the inner side of Venus. Venus rules two signs. It is Taurus, the inner side of Venus, and Libra, the outer, more extroverted expression of Venus. And Venus on her inner level, sometimes when we think about Taurus, we think about fertility. We think about this incredible abundance of, I want to say bliss. I want to say something of peace. I always meant you have to have a Taurus in your house if you want to get the energy down to a level of chill, you know. Taurus or a Cancer can do too, you know, but I prefer, you know, like the Taurus. I remember I had a Taurus living in my house once. She was a friend of mine and she came visiting. She took so much time doing everything. I'm 300 planets in air, so I do things like I don't like to do practical things. I like to do more intellectual things. And and she was so practical. She made her little sandwich and it was so, you know, she took so much time doing it and it looked beautiful, of course, you know, whereas I would just, I wouldn't even, you know, not to compare it with me, but, you know, she was, and the energy of the house changed. We are all our own gardens. We are this, especially women, you know, we are this sweet, wonderful, beautiful, fertile garden. No matter how old we are, we can have that tuning into that fine, fine realm of that beautiful Venus. And that's when, you know, that's the energy my daughter expressed when she was really having a great time in her peaceful, rhythmic being in the kitchen. No stress, no press, no pressure, no time. I mean, she could take her time. There was nothing rushing her. And that's why she had the ability to be so incredibly present in what she did. And that created fertility, created beauty, it created a sense of life, love and life. That's the gift of women to the world, to create love and life and be love and life. So we all have that ability. And when we get in a relationship with another person, you know, and we have that ability, we will attract a lot of people in this condition. You know, most people who have like a Venusian kind of vibe, if they're born with Venus on the South Node in particular, these people are so popular. They're like, everybody wants a little pic of them. And it's like, why? They're tolerant. Many of them are, it's like they are seated in themselves. They have that ability to simply love themselves. Like there is no outer expectation that can make them change their mind or rush, you know. So my Taurus friend, I mean, I could tell her to hurry up. She probably wouldn't have done it anyway. I mean, she was in the mood. She was in her own groove. And this is the nature of Venus from an inner level. This is the kind of Venusian energies, the Venus energy that we could all embody and embrace, men and women. It's easier for women, I think, because we're closely related to that realm of Taurus, that physical, sensual, touching kind of realm. And Taurus is also the sign of, I think, the hormone oxytocin, which is a bonding hormone. It could also be Cancer that is related to this hormone. But since Taurus is related a lot to touch, to be touched, to be held, and also attachments, you know, like, I'm not going to let go of this thing, I've had it forever, I'm never going to throw it away. This kind of energy, like they want to hold on to everything. Like, not all Tauruses, but you have that too, you know, like the attachment between people too. You know, I created this relationship and even if it sucks, I'm going to be here forever. That's the stubbornness of the attachment, the physical attachment. So there's a danger with Venus, of course. There's a danger with love when you have something in your life and you think, that's yummy, I want to have it forever. We become a little attached to the status quo. Therefore, Taurus is the sign of stagnation. And this is also true for our values. There's a more intellectual side to Venus. It reflects also our values, how your house is decorated, what friends you're with, um, what you value in your life. What are your values? And we say when Venus goes retrograde, it's time to reevaluate your values. Is that valuable for you anymore, or are you ready to toss it out and start something new? And of course, we value relationships. We also invest a lot of things in relationship. Part of why people never go apart is that they invested. Oh, no, I spent 20 years in this relationship. I'm not going to change my mind. I invested so much. Therefore, also, I mean, maybe that's why Taurus is a sign of possessions. It's my territory. I own this, you know. This is my man. It's my woman. You know, it's the kind of possessiveness that could also be, that is also a result of this. If you isolate Taurus and it doesn't get fed from the outside and it refuses to accept the polarity sign Scorpio, which is transformation through the gift of others, through being given something from others, Taurus will be very isolated in itself and feel pretty good about that, you know. I remember Jeffrey Wolf Green, he wrote about Pluto in Taurus, or in the second house, that it's the frog in the well syndrome. And it's like sitting on the bottom of a well and just looking at a very particular part of the sky, and that's all you see. And you think that's the world. So in terms of, you know, how any Venus retrograde will affect us, well, it depends, of course, on the individual. But if you have that kind of tendency to get stagnated in your own relationships, in your own values, which can reflect also, you know, your choice of profession, etc., or also in the way you value yourself, of course. You know, this is perhaps the most exciting part about Taurus, is that self-worth issue. I find that when we have clients coming with a packed second house, for instance, or, you know, and it could be challenges to this second house, there will always be some sort of self-worth healing necessary. Like it means, like there in this particular energy, there has to be some repair of the individual. I remember Patricia Walsh, she wrote something incredibly beautiful about Taurus in her fabulous book. If you haven't read it, you have to check it out. It's about nodal axis. I'm a little uncertain what it's called, but somebody, I can find it afterwards. The thing is that Patricia Walsh writes something about the karmic energy around Taurus, and she says, you just imagine you were a warrior, Aries, the sign that comes before. You're a warrior, you're fighting, you're struggling, you're out in the war, and all you want to do is, you're like a soldier, you just want to lay still on a peaceful land, on some grass, just some grass, and you just want to look to the sky and be at peace with life, you know, just have some healing done. So there's, like, you know, if you've been through a lot of warring relationship, a lot of battles, a lot of fights, a lot of arguments, maybe this Venus retrograde, and any Venus retrograde, offers an opportunity to change your values. Is this what you want in your relationships? Or are you worth something else? Or what is your worth? And I'm not saying, you know, like people who are, I saw this cartoon about you. We have this thing going on with the 0.1% rich people on Earth. And there was this super rich dude, like the cartoon, and he was tossing his hair apart, because I'm worth it. You know, you've seen the commercial, because I'm worth it. I need to have all this, you know. That's the distorted aspect of self-worth. It's greed. And you know, that's when it's the miser. It's not a love based, it's not founded in love, this energy. So I'm just talking normal self-worth, where you're worth it, you know, like, yeah, you're worth that people should be treating you with respect. You're worth having the opportunity to set your own boundaries. we're all worth love. We're worthy of love. We make ourselves worthy of love through showing respect to others and treating them with respect, right? So it's about worth. What are we worth? And the outer side of Venus, the actual relationship to another, is reflected through, it reflects that worth that you have on the inner levels. If you think you're a piece of nothing, people will treat you like a piece of nothing because you allow it, right? Here comes my little Venusian housemaid. It's my daughter. I won't. She's okay. So that's just something that I think is part of the outer expression of Venus, and in Libra, we have all these projections going on. We have all the expectations. We have all the little dramas. No, I didn't say that, like the arguments. No, yes, you did. You said it Tuesday, the 25th at 3 p.m., We have that kind of energy going on. It's more argumentative because of these projections. And then the challenge is, are you able to stay centered in yourself and not get almost taken up out of center? Yes. Okay, sweetheart. And not be taken out of center, even though somebody is trying to take you out of center. Look, no, she is. Okay, hi there, Lisa. Venus in Leo. She has Venus in Leo. Yeah, talk for her. All right, she has Venus in Leo, so now we all know. She's very nice, though, even though she has Venus in Leo. Bad joke. Anyway, where were we? Yeah, Venus in Libra. There was a question about this. I have some questions from the last time. I'm just going to go through it as I remember. So the outer levels of Venus is also something that goes through a redefinition through this retrograde phase. And what we attract is often very interesting. I often hear clients and people and friends and everyone actually, I say, I can't believe it. I attracted one of those again, like one of those. It's like meaning that, why is it always the same kind of karmic complex or same kind of energy that is, here we are again, And I think, that has to do a little bit with your inner level of Venus, what you expect, how you've been treated before, what is the comfort zone for you in relationships. How good are you at feeling loved? And we shan't forget either that, Venus is a feminine deity. She's for women. She's the energy of the feminine. She's part of the anima of any men, but for women, she's very vital. She is the sweetness. She is that that comes through us when we are truly in tune with the feminine self. And there was a very particular, I had a conversation with someone not so long ago, and he asked, so what is feminine energy? And I tasted the question, and I said, it's sweet. It's that sweetness, that ability to have peace enough on the inner levels to experience the sweetness. And sometimes you hear in Indian philosophies that, sweetness, there is a nectar that drips on the inner levels into the energy of the meditator. It comes from the third eye and drips into the mouth or something, and they call it the nectar. And perhaps this nectar is what we talk about when we talk about sweetness. The serotonin of the brain, Why is Venus related to sweets? I need some sweets. I need some chocolate. What is that feeling we get when we eat this? Perhaps we can get that feeling, and we get it frequently too from a lover. When a woman has her ecstasy, when she's sexual with another man, she goes into the sweetness, and her mind is flooded with ecstasy for a little while. I mean, she might not be aware of it, but that's what happens. And the sweetness of the open heart too. Oh, look, there's a bird flying over there. Isn't that wonderful? That's also some of the sweetness of life, being able to see these things and having enough enjoyment on the inner levels to be actually able to take it in and embrace it and really love it, embracing life. She's a higher aspect. Remember, she's the soul of our earth. That's what they say in more esoteric sciences. They say Venus is the soul of earth. I love that, because she has, if you look into older literature, she was more warring, and there was another energy present on earth at that time. But for the post-Renaissance human being, she is these high ideals, these elevated ideals about what we can be if we are in harmony with ourselves. I don't believe in evil people. I don't think anyone does, actually. I believe in wounded people. I see them everywhere. But evil, well, instinctually we can be pretty raw, and that's Mars. We have to have that kind of rawness. But we have the ability to turn into a true human being, a peaceful lover. So all the poets, all those who are enchanted about love, they have a strong Venus energy, So I truly believe, now that I've marinated a little bit in Venus in Pisces. Pisces is also, it's a sign of release, but, it's also a sign of union with the divine, right? There is a great potential for us now to release whatever is preventing us from having that kind of union with something divine. First, we have to have that. I just came off the phone with the person, and we spoke about that Venus in Pisces. And he said, I think most people lack a connection with God. That's like, I thought it was beautiful, Yeah, I agree. Just imagine how little neurosis we would have if we had that connection. I can't define God for you. I mean, we all have, when you're there, you know it. It's you just know it. Yeah, there you are. That's heaven, you know it. And Venus is one of the gateways, because she's that balance. You have to have a little balance in your body to get there. She's that balance in relationship. You have to have a certain equanimity in your relationship to get there. Otherwise, you keep your energy in the relationships and you will fight the relationships. If you fight your body, you keep the energy fighting your body. You can't see God then. You have to go through the heart and accept yourself for who you are and accept people for who they are. And then you are there. Or at least you can get there. Yeah. So that's the energy I feel is embodied in Pisces. It doesn't mean we get there, of course. And I think why we can't get there is just for the reasons I mentioned. There is so much pulling us out all the time, and we have. One thing was clear for me when I saw this election time and I saw the responses afterwards, and I thought, oh wow. I mean, not that it surprised me so much though, but I had that reaction. I remember I was like, yeah, I think it's a good thing that the world is getting, it's coming to a place where it's starting to acknowledge their traumas. Like collectively, we are starting to acknowledge our traumas. That's good, because sometimes, especially because this Venus will be very influenced by Chiron, this Venus transit. So we're going to explore the wound a little bit, both in ourselves and in what happened in our relationships. And Chiron was wounded. He was the centaur. He was half man, half animal. And we are half man, half animal. As I said, we're somewhere in between Mars and Venus. We all have instincts. Mars is the adrenals. It's the fight and flight mechanism in us, and it's the stress hormones in our bodies, cortisol, adrenaline, everything that makes us, on. Venus is the kidneys. She's the ability of the body to maintain balance in the fluids, for instance, also through the salts, and it is also the part of us, that builds up the body. It's the these two, they have like a connection to the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. One is go, go, go. The other is chill, receive, relax. It's building up again. So it's using the body, burning off the cells, and then it's building it up again. And we need both of them to be alive. We can't just be Venusian goddesses hanging around eating grapes and drinking champagne all the time. We have to burn it too, But the thing is, with Chiron is that he seems to be, stuck in between that. If you have too much drive, if there are too much instinct in your body, you become almost like an animal. It's like, what did you mean with that? I'm going to rip your head off. It's very, it's defensive. It's defending itself. And of course, that's the state of affairs on Earth today. That's what we're all doing, especially in our relationships. So Venus comes in, and what does she do in a relationship? She does the opposite. She relaxes, she's strategic, of course. I mean, there's this, there are many, she's more waiting, and it doesn't mean she's not demanding by all means, but it's not that aggressive. It's actually, that's why we call Libra also the diplomat. There's a certain sense of diplomacy in love. It doesn't mean it's weak, not at all. It can be very demanding, but it has a sense of diplomacy. So it has the ability to listen, which Mars doesn't have, So Chiron, he's this half man, half god thing, almost immortal. Well, he is immortal, but you can still wound him. He can still be hurt. Not like the gods; they don't care. They're like, nothing can hurt me. I'm not insulted. He's not offended, but he gets into. Interestingly enough, it goes in between two warring energies, thinking he can solve it, and he gets wounded in his hip. And this wound, it stays and it stays and it stays, and it wasn't actually caused by him to himself. It was more an accident kind of thing. Sometimes when we think of our Chiron, we think, so meaningless. Why? Chiron in Pisces, the way that we've, gone through a lot of this Chiron in Pisces time, we've discovered that we can ruin things. We can actually wound people to death. We can have hearts broken so that we never want to love again. We can have people break. They fall apart. That's the kind of Venus thing. That's Chiron in Pisces. We are not infallible. We are making so much chaos and destruction on Earth, and we're ruining it forever. Maybe this is beyond repair. This is the kind of energy that we're talking about. And in relationships too, something is so deeply severed, it's beyond repair. And Venus will cross into, will during this coming week or so just pass Chiron. And there she, perhaps if you go through that space in yourself where you're feeling these energies are being activated again, just take a look at them. It's and set it as an intention. Okay, so I believe perhaps that on a certain level this will never be able to be healed in me because I've gone through so many rounds with it. And sometimes when I want to describe Chiron to people, I just wanted to just imagine how our solar system was created. It was planet crashing into each other. That's how we are created too as human beings. We go into a relationship and we almost randomly, we just create relationships like, I don't know what, that's nice, he looks great, and he's available, and blah, blah, blah. And you just randomly crash into things. It's lawless. But there is a sense of law in harmony. Harmony is mathematics. It's that perfect ding, when you have everything in harmony, when the choir is singing as one voice. If you have people singing, I'm singing this song and the other guys are singing the other song, you have like a choir that's completely disintegrated and it's not making harmony. So there's a sense of order to Venus, and that's perhaps something we all have to go through. What do you want? Do not create relationships randomly. What do you need, in order to not create yet another round of destruction? Is this good for you? Is this, how does this feed into you? Are you gaining energy or are you losing energy through this relationship? Are you feeling joy in this work or are you feeling drained? We're supposed to have a nice life. Yeah? But Chiron is a part of being human, and it's these old wounds and bumps that we've gone through. So it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, by all means. So here she is, Venus going into Aries, and I thought it was just a beautiful little thing that we still have 5 planets in Pisces, and then the South Node. Here is Pallas Athena, this one, and she's also, well, I won't go into her. We can do that another time. She's very interesting, but you look at these, so interesting. You look at this. Mercury, Sun, Neptune energy, and you think, oh, yes, there's going to be some revelations, there's going to be some illusions that's being ripped apart. Perhaps you're going to see something you haven't seen before inside of yourself, in the world. And Venus is, well, she won't be making a square in this round to Capricorn, but she's 13 degrees into Aries, and there's also a whole lot of planets in Aries. So you have that kind of passive kind of, I'll wait and see what happens, and then you have this very, very aggressive kind of energy that the Aries energy is like, come on, we have to get things moving, etc., etc. As Venus goes into her evening star aspect, you can see the sun is moving this direction, right? I'm going to take away all the reds here. The sun is moving in this direction, or it's not the sun, but it's the ascendant axis is moving this direction. So when the sun is setting down here, and going under the horizon here, Venus is going to be up here above the horizon, and that's where she is right now. If you can look to the sky, you will see this beautiful, beautiful, brilliant diamond on the sky. She's really sparkling. And Venus Hesperus, as they call her, the evening star, she's in a release phase, right? She's releasing her former energy. She's releasing something on a very deep level, and now she's going to go back and she's going to meet the sun, and she's going to rise on the other side of the ascendant as she rises as the morning star and enters into a new cycle. Every Venus retrograde cycle is 18 months. Every 18 months she goes retrograde. And it's only about 40 days she goes retrograde. And it's the rarest of them all when we talk about retrograde cycles. And she goes into the underworld as she crosses the sun, and she comes up again. Here she starts out the retrograde cycle by being an evening star high up in the evening. And then she crosses the sun, right? She crosses the sun because she goes backwards, and the sun, it moves through the zodiac this way. So they're going to cross each other. That's the next chart. They're going to cross each other at the 25th of March at 4 degrees Aries. And this is where they cross. She's going backwards. The sun is moving that way through Aries. And they cross each other. And there's a lot of planets in Aries. Yeah, a lot of planets in Pisces too that day. And then she's going to go, now the sun is ahead of her. Right? So here is where the sun is rising. So the sun is in Aries. Let's put the sun in Aries down here, just for the visual of it. Sun in Aries. I'm just pretending this is Aries. And Venus is in Pisces. So Pisces would be up here. So she's rising in front of the sun. Even though she's behind it in the zodiac, she's rising in front of the sun. Isn't that beautiful? I think it's so beautiful. She goes down as an evening star and she rises as a morning star. She's refreshed again. This is an old Sumerian thing, I think. I'm not so drilled in these historical aspects of how they saw these energies before, but the shamanistic astrologers have been very concerned with the Venus retrograde, as a shaman would think, into the underworld, she's releasing and shedding everything, and she's coming out refreshed again, ready to embark on new adventure. And I think this period, the evening star period, there will definitely be a lot of relationship changes. Venus in the evening star is a more releasing kind of Venus. She meets, there's this karmic energy around her. It is that kind of, haven't we met before? If you meet someone in this period, it could be like, this is familiar. And you might want to engage with that person, but you're not quite sure, there could be something stopping it. And then she emerges as the morning star, the Lucifer aspect, and she's way more impulsive and way more ready she's in a new cycle. So this is when she emerges and ready for new kinds of love. This is sometimes when people are born with Venus as a morning star. I am. I'll make an astrological confession. I'm born with Venus morning star. It's retrograde actually too. And it's the strongest star in my chart, the strongest planets, let's just say in my chart. And they call people who have Venus morning star, it's not very flattering, impulsive and spontaneous in their relationships. Always in, like a more impulsive kind of energy. Yeah, I can relate to that actually. Even though I have Venus in Capricorn, I'm very cautious. I take karma seriously. That's for sure. This is just a graph. I found this at Gary Gayton's page. He's very good with these things, and this is just how it's related to the morning star, evening star. Here it goes into the underworld. Here it's here you see it as a evening star, right? So up here in the western horizon, and then in the eastern horizon she rises here. I think it's really, really beautiful. And I think the best way to use these things, these cycles, how can we use them occultly? How can we use them for our own private magic, for our own private healing, for our own creation? And I think the best way to do it is do some sort of ritual, send off some aspect of your own self-worth issues that you're working, send it off to the sea. You know, receive the grace, receive compliments, create your beauty, do something that will, you know, make you feel more beautiful. You know, there's many ways to beauty. Soulmates, Olive is saying, can you please comment on soulmates promoting spiritual development of each other? Yeah, that's a big one with Venus in Pisces, this soulmate thing. Well, soulmate energy is, that's when two people meet and they have like, I would think Jeffrey would say like a soul contract with each other. A soulmate for me is just two people who are actually aware of their souls and they come together for a soul purpose, creating something together like a work or a service or children or family together, but they strengthen each other's energy field, and that can sometimes lead to a whole lot of crises. Because when the soul enters the realm, enters our organ, when the soul, it has a tendency to emphasize everything, like it makes the fire burn stronger, and then everything that is problematic in your own energy system will arise. That's why these soulmate relationships are often very, very very challenging, you know. Skisha, how can we use the polarity point in Aries to communicate our needs to a partner gently but firmly? Well, to tell them the inconvenient truth, piss off. Well, okay, so there's it's not always easy to tell the truth. Sometimes it's easier to write, you know, it depends. If you're in a relationship that is very reactive, people are prone to misunderstandings. They want to create something negative, something aggressively. Well, maybe there is no hope of diplomacy. Maybe it's just important to. It's very, very difficult to see how do you break free, for instance, from an aggressive relationship. How do you communicate something to people without insulting them? If everything you say is insulting to them, you have a problem. So maybe there's no gentle way. You know, diplomacy would just be a waste of time. Cutting the crap firmly would be precisely what the doctor would order. And this is where Mars energy could be a little Shiva energy. It's cut the crap. Kali, you know, she's chopping the heads of people. So, I mean, you can't always be gentle, but you have to pay the price for that. There's a consequence for being aggressive, of course. The best thing to avoid is going into defensive mode. This is a Martian problem, you know, and being as reactive as your opponent. In karate, we have this saying, the first one to get angry lost. You know? They're losing. Gently but firmly. So gently would be without fear, without defensiveness, without projecting aggression or fear in the situation. That could be very difficult if you have an expectation of a negative reaction. So to not be attached to the outcome. Yeah, so it sounds easy, but it's very difficult. So if you know that you've tried many different routes, you know, and the fear will build. Perhaps with this Venus Chiron, there is a healing available. Irreconcilable differences. I think he used that. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. He used that word for Venus Chiron. How to heal that? Michael Lutin did. Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes we have to be strict. Sometimes we have to be really demanding. And I think especially, women. Wanda, the heart chakra. Yes, I did speak about not the heart chakra, but the self-validation thing. I do not use. Sue is asking, do you use Venus star points? No, I just used one now though, where Venus star points is where Venus and the Sun crosses. You have one retrograde and then one direct crossing, I think, each year. Yes, one internal and one external. So, but no, I try to. My rule is less is more. Less is more. I leave all the detailed work to those who are excellent and brilliant with it, like today, the 26th. I don't do that. I do cycles and I do phases and I do themes from an archetypal level. The dates. Can you describe how the accelerated evolution? Well, yes, I hope I did describe that. How the accelerated evolution. That's interesting. In Venus retrograde may happen. Not sure if I got that question right, but I can try here though. I forgot to mention, I think it's worthwhile to just mention how the first one is here, Neptune, the accelerated, yeah, it's going to be some illusions going down the drain this time around, especially since Pisces is illusion, and then you have this incredibly interesting retrograde energy. Look at that. It's conjunct Uranus. So the first one is conjunct Neptune, all these illusions, and then the direct energy again, when finally things are being released, the Sun is conjunct Uranus. So we're in for some big surprises in relationships, and of course Uranus in itself is speeding up time. It's the nature of Uranus to speed up evolution through consciousness, through gaining information, through reaching a new level of insight into yourself. So I hope that sort of answered your question. How does it, yeah, well, how it accelerates evolution, Venus intensifies, and she's intensifies her energy in this particular area of the zodiac. So therefore, there will be a lot of extra stress and pressure in this particular field of the zodiac, and therefore it's like churning and churning and churning. So it's intensifying through the mere concentration of movement. Yes, I think my head and my heart is released. Everything I've been going pregnant with during this Venus, I was supposed to be here last week. So, and it matured in me. So this is what came up this day. So I hope you enjoyed it. And I will find the book of the name of Patricia Walsh's book and post it on the EA Zoom group. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Sol.
Thank you, Sol. That was fantastic. Thanks so much, and thanks for answering our questions.
No problem. Thank you, Linda.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Ciao. Bye.
Bye.